And good day to you. I hope that you are doing great. Of course, I host Wealth Academy podcast, and it's my honor for episode number 333. It's going to be a wonderful episode. In fact, it's titled for, of course, the month of February is Valentine's Day, so it's considered a month of love. But love yourself enough to lead yourself. So I'm going to provide you with the February Wealth Blueprint. And one of the things I want you to get is that this information can really help you to move a notch and a level up from where you are now. So welcome to the Wealth Academy podcast, where we teach you that wealth is more than just money. It's leadership, discipline, mindset, and the courage to take control of your future. Of course, I'm your host, Paul Lawrence Vann, the Leadership Catalyst. I'm a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, a certified financial manager, and author of the book, Lead Yourself First. And what I'm going to talk about is a proven path to self-mastery and leadership excellence. Now, of course, I mentioned before, February is the month of love, but today we're not just talking about loving others, we're talking about loving yourself enough to lead yourself and build lasting wealth, because that's what part of the journey is in life. And because if you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead your money. And if you cannot lead your money, you will never build wealth. And really, we want to do that, especially when we consider today's climate of inflation and the tariffs and the price of goods and services. And so, as a result, we need to take a different point of view going forward. So, welcome to today's episode, and I really want you to enjoy it. And after you listen to this, reference it and refer it to your family, friends, and your colleagues as well. So let me ask you something. What if the real reason you haven't reached your next level financially has nothing to do with the economy, inflation, interest rates, or your income? So what is the issue? What if the issue isn't opportunity, but identity? So February gives us a powerful reset moment. It's early enough in the year to correct course, and it's the perfect month to reconnect to who you said you would become in 2026. We all have our New Year's resolutions, and all that is based on our habits, daily habits, consistency, and focus. And so that's part of what I want to talk about. So this month, you decide, am I going to consume or invest? A great question, if I should say so myself. Drift or lead? We want to stay focused. Survive or build? You know, we definitely want to keep striving for the best. So today I'm going to give you 8 powerful self-leadership questions that will transform the way you think about wealth. And what I want to do is start out by saying it all begins with you and I. So we have to ask ourselves these questions. Do I trust myself to keep promises I make to myself? For example, I want to save $100 a month or $50 a month. And if it's in a position where it's just $10 a month, that's good too, but it's still saving something. And what we save, we're going to use to invest in something greater that would make us even more money. So self-leadership begins with integrity. And if you don't trust yourself to follow through on small commitments, saving that $100 or reading 10 pages, walking 20 minutes, I need to do that. How can you trust yourself with $1 million? Because everyone believes that if I can just make $1 million, I'll be rich. You'll be rich in terms of the number, but wealth is more than just money. So wealth builders are promise keepers. So it's very important that we do, in fact, do this. We make a commitment to ourselves and we move further on. So, keeping a promise to ourselves, for example, I have a goal each year. I try to save a sufficient amount of money in the savings account to put that towards a life insurance policy. In fact, a couple of them. And then I want to put the rest in the stock market. But both ways, in all 3 ways, what I'm doing, I'm giving my money a job. I'm giving it an assignment. And it's the same thing that you should do. Give your money an assignment. It wants you to give it an assignment. And when you do, it will work for you. It will make you more money. For example, if you invest in the stock market, there's either monthly dividends that you can receive, and or if you're going with a growth company that doesn't provide dividends monthly, you can look at it from a quarterly standpoint or biannual standpoint. But either way, your money is not sitting dormant in a savings account just whittling its thumbs, its monetary thumbs. What it's doing, it's is working for you because that 0.5% perhaps that you get at the bank, local bank, it doesn't compare to an insurance policy, which typically would bring you at least 4% on an annual basis. And you put the money in there, and in essence, you can become your own bank by putting in X amount of money annually, just one payment for the entire year, and then that builds and builds and builds on itself. And the same thing with the stock market. What I decided to do instead of taking out the monthly dividends, even though I purchase dividend stocks that pay on a monthly basis, I decided to hit the option of reinvest. So the monies that I would have received through a check or in my bank account, it goes back to build upon itself. And over time, as you know, it really adds up. It's a exponentially adds up. So it's something to give consideration to. So my question again is, do I trust myself to keep promises I made to myself? That's for you. And it's definitely for me. And as a result, we want to always position ourselves to allow our money to make more. Or if we're going to read 10 pages of a book that we know that can help us, I'm reading a book right now because I'm using it as a model for one that I'm writing. And so there are different things. Or from a health standpoint, walking 20 minutes each day. You can build it up to 25 eventually as the quarter goes through. And it's important to understand that with this quarter, January, February, and March, this is the best time to set those goals. So when you hit October, November, December, you'll be able to look back and you'll be able to measure the progress that you made based on the decisions that you made, because that's what wealth builders do. So I'm going to go on here now to talk about what habits are silently sabotaging your financial growth. I'll repeat it, and it goes for me too. What habits are silently sabotaging my financial growth? So, one of the things is scrolling, impulse spending, procrastination investing, and every wealth builder has eliminated habits that leak energy and money. And so having an awareness creates that transformation. As I mentioned before, if we procrastinate about spending, one of the first things I did, I enrolled in an stock investing course in late December. So I really got my start in the stock market investing in January of this year. And as a result, I didn't have not one penny going towards investing in stock, not one penny. And once I learned about how the passive income works, then I took a course called Stocks 101, then Stocks 102, and then I did one with debt paydown. So it gave me a really good model to work with here in the first quarter of the year. And I went from $0 in the brokerage account to today about 8,000. And you're saying, well, you must have money. How did you get that money so fast? Well, what I did as I was filing taxes for 2025, I saw a lot of subscriptions that I had. And these subscriptions I had cost a little bit of money, but I was not using them. So what I did, I deleted all of those subscriptions. I mean, everything, whether it was a streaming service for television, to with a program that could generate some leads for speaking and different things like that, things that were just not working. And I accumulated over $8,000 in investments in a little over a month, maybe a month and a half. And so you know that by the end of this year, it will be a lot more than that. But this is just one example where I'm not procrastinating in my investing. And I don't have that impulse spending because the way I view things now, which you may consider yourself, is that for everything I buy that I don't really need, I could invest that in another share of stock, even if it's just one share or a fractional share. And so as a result, I've really changed the way I approach my money and stopped sabotaging my financial growth. And that combination of receiving a pension and disability and other forms of income that come in, I no longer view buying things that I truly do not, that I just I need, not something that I want. And so that's something for us all to consider. Again, awareness creates that transformation, and it did it for me. So I want to ask now, am I thinking like a consumer or an investor? And we both know the difference. Here in America, of course, we're in a consumer economy where it's marketed to us each and every day in some form or another. Could be on national TV and magazines, in social media, TikTok, Facebook, you name it. We're being marketed to at all times. Billboards, everything on the mobile devices. And as a result, what we want to do is consumers often ask themselves, can I afford this? Or, and you may very well afford it, but think about if you purchase something, but you could have invested in stock market or whatever investment you have, maybe it's insurance policy, whatever it may be, and where that money, how much more that money will grow over time. And so investors will ask, will this grow? Absolutely. You have to learn it. In other words, I'm a certified financial manager. However, I never really delved into stock. I always looked at it as something, well, I don't want to invest my money and lose it. But what I really should have been looking at is some of the products that I purchase. Why not invest in a company who I'm purchasing products from in the first place, whether it's a grocery store, whether it's pharmaceuticals, or it could be Walmart or CVS, whomever, and looking at it from that standpoint, or Walmart or Target. And so I'm taking a different stance and perspective of things. And your mindset, of course, determines your financial trajectory. And so my mindset has completely flipped. In fact, I'm pretty sure the people at the brokerage firm are looking at me like, this guy must be new because the way he's going at this, he's going gangbusters. And trust me, I am. And of course, I'm looking at the future. I'm relatively up there in age, but I plan on being around for a while. And even if I don't, I'll throw my investments into a trust. And so I'm going to still have asset protection and positioning myself to be able to do more with less. And so that's one of the things I want to look at. So the question again is, am I thinking like a consumer or an investor? And I want you to lean into it and pour into it like me. Let's lean more into that investor side of things. I think that's a better space for us all because we just don't know what's going to happen in this economy. You don't know how much longer the job may exist. We know that the price of things aren't necessarily going to go down, they're going to go up. So we need to be able to have our money fight for us. So here's the next question. What skills am I building that increase my earning power? Wealth is not just about cutting expenses, it's about increasing value. And that's pretty much what I was just saying. You might want a new car. I want a new car. Who doesn't? But I'm not going to get one because mine is paid for and it only has 40,000 miles on it, right? And so I also found myself reducing my insurance that I pay every 6 months. And as a result, I'm saving money, and the money I would have spent with that, what do you think is happening? It's going into the stock market. Okay, so that's kind of what's taking place. And are you improving your leadership, your communications, your negotiation, AI literacy, or investment knowledge. And let's talk about that AI for a bit because it is really at the center of the storm, if you will, about AI and what it's going to, the impact it's going to have on the workforce and the workplace, and if people are going to get replaced by it. Now, you know, everything is not going to be replaced by AI. It's just impossible because it doesn't have the human emotions and the ability to think like a human being. And so, if we learn how to leverage what we learn about artificial intelligence, that puts you into a better spot. And the other thing is, you know, I provide a webinar every Thursday at 7 p.m. And I help mid-career professionals who lead themselves to get promoted faster and earn more. So we have to look at what skills are you building that increase your earning power. One promotion could be worth about $30,000 because you look at not only the pay involved in it monetarily, but also the benefits package. So everything is up for discussion when it comes to a promotion. And you have to position yourself to really um, get into that mode of thinking that way, that if you get that promotion in 30 days and the way companies work, because I worked in that budgeting and finance area for many, many years. Of course, a company has a cycle in when they have funding to provide for promotion. So it may not take place in 30 months, 30 days, but it could happen within 6 to 9 months based on how their pay system is set up. So that's something to think about. And of course, we always want to improve our self-leadership, our communication skills, and negotiation skills because life is a negotiation. And negotiation is not a bad word. It's just two people having different perspective of something and they come to an agreement on it. Or they may very well agree to disagree about it. So the next thing I want to talk about here with you, number question 5 is who is influencing your financial decisions? Pregnant pause, if you will. That's why your circle matters. Are you hanging out with people? Are you connecting with people who have similar goals, such as yourself? Or do you have people who are really not interested in moving forward, progressing in life? And if you're hanging with people who are not willing and wanting to progress in life, you may well find yourself in that same circle. So you want to avoid that. Not that you're better than someone else, but that you want more out of life because we have to always remember we only get one crack at life. And if we don't maximize the moments, we're going to lose the moment. I don't worry about what I didn't invest in over the last 20 to 30 years because it's irrelevant now. What I am looking at is how am I going to do in the next 10 to 20 years? That's most important. And that's something for you to consider. And are you surrounded by spenders or builders? In other words, people buy things because they're trying to impress someone. Or are they like the Joneses? They want to live in a gated community. Well, what we learned from the book, The Neighbor Next Door, is that most wealthy people don't live like that. Okay? They don't buy new shoes all the time. They get them resold. They have a suit, they'll just get it adjusted if they gain or lose weight. They don't eat um, hors d'oeuvres. They just basically eat basic food. They don't drink champagne. They drink beer. That's really the essence of that book. And I think it's a really great one to consider. And then wealth builders are intentional about their environment. In other words, you never put yourself in a risky position. And that's very important as well. So when it comes down to who's influencing your financial decisions, when you look in that mirror each morning, it had better be you. You have the final say in terms of what your success is going to be and what your success is going to look like. And it's very important that you tap into really who you are. And the next thing I want to talk about, which is question number 6, is do I have a written wealth vision for 2026? It's going to be a longer pause, people. I'll repeat the question and think about it. Do I have a written wealth vision for 2026? Remember, Clarity creates momentum. So, what does financial freedom look like for you? Want to be debt free? Isn't that a beautiful word? Couple of words, debt free. 20,000 in dividends annually, as I mentioned with the stock market, are growing your whole life insurance policy. How about owning your house outright? No mortgage payments. The only thing you have left there is property taxes and insurance and repairs, of course. But if it's not written, it's just a wish. So write it down, write down if you want to be financially free. Are you clear about it? Or do you want to be debt free? And when we say debt free, that means not having just maxed out credit cards, a mortgage payment you can't afford, or a vehicle you can't afford. If you're paying seven, eight, $900 a month, or even $500 a month for a car, why not get a car that costs less and pay it off faster? And because when we really get down to it, it's just making it from point A to point B. It's not to impress anyone. And we know a lot of gurus do, in fact, come on social media and other platforms, and they boast about the cars they have and the houses and the trips they take. But you don't really know their whole story. You see, one of the things that I've learned through research is that a lot of wealthy people are in a lot of debt. Doctors who are going out of business because they can't afford it, paying those student loans back from the days they were going to law school or they were going to medical school. And it looks like they have a lot, but they may very well not have a lot. But if you look at a plumber is probably more what you would call uh, have clarity on and know how to create momentum. And a plumber or electrician can make as much as a doctor, depending on how they position their business. So you can't always tell the book by the cover, is really what I'm saying. So the bottom line is if it's not written, it's just a wish. And we want to ensure that we write down what we want to do. I did an entire debt pay down program. And I didn't realize it, but in about a month after joining this investment firm, I paid about $12,000 of debt down. And I have more to pay down, but I'm going to pay it all off probably by June. Why? Because I'm conscious of it. I have it written down and I know exactly what I need to do. And stop spending money. Just the essentials. That's all we need. So my next question to you, question 7, and then after this I'll have one left, is how do I respond to financial pressure? Do you panic or do you plan? And there's a big difference. Self-leaders stay disciplined in downturns. In other words, if the economy looks like it's getting a little bit down, inflation is going up, there is a decision to make in regards to what steps you want to take. Instead of going out just purchasing fast food, get you a Costco or BJ's account, something like that, and buy in bulk. And instead of going to the restaurant every day, prepare meals for the week. It's definitely much smarter. And again, don't abandon your strategy when the markets fluctuate. In other words, if you have a stock, which I had a stock, and I bought it what I consider high now compared to when it went down. So when it went down, I went in and I got me some more shares of it because ultimately that stock price is going to go up. And so I didn't panic about it. I just knew, I'm getting this almost $40 to $50 less than I did from the very first share that I purchased. And that's when you know that you're locked in and that you're focused, because we know when it comes to the stock market, it's going to be some give and it's going to be some take. And you just have to ride out the storm. That's the main thing. And when you ride out that storm, you're in much better position. So again, I want you to ask yourself, do you panic in financial pressure or do you plan? And I know a lot of you are really on pins and needles because the administration wants to go back and get those student loans and they want to go in and tap tap into people's employment and take the money out, which I think is totally wrong. But that's just one man's opinion. Or do you plan? Do you plan, okay, I do have the student loan and I'm going to pay it down. And at the same time, some of those things that you really wanted, you can postpone those for a while until you get to the point where you get most of your student loan debt paid down. And so that's very important. How do you respond to financial pressure? And here's the last question that I'm going to pose to you. Do you love yourself enough to delay gratification? Let me repeat this. Do you love yourself enough to delay gratification? Patience, I've learned as I've been retired. This is my 24th year of retirement from the United States Air Force, but I'm an entrepreneur, so I really never stopped working. But when it comes to delayed gratification, this is the ultimate February question. Love is sacrifice. Love is discipline. Love is telling yourself, not now, so your future self can say, thank you. Pat yourself on the back and glad that you were patient enough to delay immediate gratification. Now, wealth building is self-respect in action. I can't repeat that more, but you have to be able to love yourself enough to say, I'm not really trying to run with someone who believes in spending, 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 and debt and debt and debt, but I'm more interested in having a balanced life. And yeah, maybe I couldn't go to Cancun this year, but I'll go sometimes in the future. And so we have to really look at that. And one of the things I want to talk about is when it comes to the February Wealth Builder formula, of which I'm talking about right now. The formula consists of self-leadership. Don't leave home without it. You have to be able to lead yourself. And when you lead yourself, you're making decisions that are going to impact your life, not only on a daily basis, but a weekly, monthly, and annual basis. And then you have to be disciplined. Discipline is not all bad. In fact, discipline is really the foundation for a lot of success because you hold the line with yourself. Self, hey, I'm not going out here. I'm not going to get this Porsche, right? I'm not going into this gated community, okay? Even if I have to stay into an apartment till I can afford to put a great down payment on a property or use some real estate investing techniques where I can get into a property with little or no money. And then investment. We've got to make our money work for us, and that is in itself an investment. And then we want to have compound growth, whereas growth won't happen overnight, definitely not in a savings account in a bank or credit union. But if you put it in other assets, such as a whole life insurance policy, or if you put it in the stock market and other investment, the compounding will take place. And that's really one of the keys to a person becoming wealthy is the compound interest. And then that financial freedom. You can never put a price on freedom of any kind, nonetheless, financial freedom. And so there are no shortcuts and there are no hype, just leadership applied to money. And that's what we're talking about here. And as I teach inside Wealth Building Academy, you don't build wealth accidentally, you build it intentionally. It's all about your intentions. So let's look at this here as I wrap it up. February is not just about roses and chocolates, even though they're both good. It's about reflection. It's about recommitment. It's about choosing to lead yourself when no one is watching. You're not behind. You're not late. You are one disciplined decision away from changing your financial future. Love yourself enough to invest, learn, lead, and build. I'll repeat that. Love yourself enough to invest, learn, lead, and build. Because wealth is, in fact, more than just money. It is freedom, it's having options, and it's legacy. And legacy begins with self-leadership. Now, I have this very strong call to action I want to share with you before this episode is over. And if this episode challenged you, here's what I want you to do. Share this episode with one person who needs to step into self-leadership. Write down your 2026 wealth vision tonight. Join my private community, Lead Yourself to Wealth on Facebook. It's a private Facebook group that I have there. Again, my name is Paul Lawrence Vann. And register for my upcoming webinar, How to Get Promoted in 30 Days Through Self-Leadership. And if you're serious about becoming a disciplined wealth builder, visit paulvanspeaks.com and explore the resources inside Wealth Building Academy. And remember, you don't wait for wealth, you lead yourself to it. This is Paul Lawrence Vann, the Leadership Catalyst, saying to you, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next episode of Wealth Academy Podcast. My time is up, and I thank you for yours. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next episode. And get out there on Apple Podcasts and rate and review episode 333 with your host, Paul Lawrence Vann. And refer it to your family, friends, and colleagues, and have a wonderful day. There are additional episodes coming up for Wealth Academy Podcast for the month of February, and I want you to tune in and listen to them. Have a great day, and I'll see you the next time.